Hi, this is Private Citizen. Today I'm kind of going over the install of the Kuryakyn Omni. I thought it would look better having the black in that particular area of the bike with the gray trim, and then just having the chrome accent of the peg being there. A couple issues that I had: there were some chips where I guess the anodize or the black coating, powder coat or whatever, was not or had chipped off of the actual pieces. So I had some leftover spray paint for Toyota Tundra. So what I did was I just taped over the front, and then I just kind of painted it just to kind of coat it to give it a little more corrosion protection. I don't know how much that's going to help me in the long run, but I figured out, every little bit helps. There was another video of someone installing these on their GoldWing, and they had like a slight issue with this screw. Um, it was really tight and hard for them to actually get it on. So for me, for the most part, I could screw it down by hand, but I did wind up putting a little bit, backing it out and putting a little bit of dish detergent on there, and that let me finish screwing them down to the point where I could tighten them, and I didn't have to use anything except for a hand Allen key, and uh, and that's it, and just laid it on the table, no other tools. Of course, I'll have to back them out once I put it on there to get the final position, but I just wanted to dry fit everything to make sure that everything worked. Another thing I want to note is there's a little like slot or groove, divot, indentation, whatever you want to call it, for this bracket to go in. So you want to make sure when you do install it that you do get them in there. The holes in here are a little bit offset, so it is possible to actually install it and have it rise or stay above, but you want to make sure that it's actually inset as far as possible, or to the stop when you actually install these. The kit came with these two screws and washers, and they are not mentioned anywhere in the actual directions, so I sent a message to Kuryakyn to an email to see what they are for. I think that's about it. All in all, the finish seems pretty good. Like I said, there were a couple places where the coating or the anodize came off, but it wasn't on the actual face that shows. These plastic covers do cover most of it, so for me at least, where those parts were located is it's a non-issue because it won't be seen. I just wanted to coat it with the paint just to protect for corrosion. And next up, I'll be putting it on the bike. I'll start with the right side facing, sitting on the bike facing forward. And that's about it. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so here we go with the disassembly. This you can find online if you're replacing your fog lights or putting in new fog lights or adding them, or other maintenance items. You can find plenty of videos on YouTube that'll show you how to do this. So you can fast forward past this if you want to. Um, I'm just actually practicing this new rig I'm wearing now, so I figured I'd give it a go. All right. So you might be wondering why I decided to go with the Kuryakyn highway pegs instead of the others that are offered. And I guess for me, what I like most about the Kuryakyn is it doesn't cover up the Honda emblem. You can still see that, so that's clear after it's installed. It doesn't take away any of the lean clearance going in corners because it's all tilted up. Whereas like some of the other ones come from underneath and take away a little space this way. And I just like the styling of it. I feel like it gives me a lot of variations in the actual position I can put the foot peg in. So I like that. There's a lot of different adjustments. And like I said, it stays high out of the way and it doesn't block the name or anything like that. So, yeah. So I'm going to try to get these two screws out. That's one. Top. The bottom. Move the cover. I usually just sit the screws back in there. I don't know if you can see me doing this, but I like to sit the screws back in. So when it's time to put it back together, I know right where they go. That little hum you hear is a heater I have because it's about 40 degrees outside. So I'm freezing my little tushy off. So while I'm doing this is the same thing with, yeah, I hate that sound. It sounds like it's tearing up the plastic, but it's the same thing with these. These are Kuryakyn, I guess front fork lights, or whatever we call them, marker lights. I like the styling and look of these, so I put these on as well, and they look really good. They look really good. Everything was straightforward with that. I didn't do a video with it because I was just anxious to get it done, but I really do like them. Only thing I wish is if I could have some kind of daylight sensor, and I thought about rigging one myself so that I could turn off the marker part during the day, kind of just save it for like the nighttime. I guess I got this fear of the LEDs burning out, or it's starting to look not so good, you know, in a couple years because some of the LEDs burn out. But I guess maybe I should just get over that because it looks good even in the daytime. I feel like there's one more screw I'm missing. But perhaps not. So I'm just wiggling this free. There you go. And I know this kind of goes forward. Pull out tab at the bottom, and then this is loose. Now for me, I have like a light installed in here for an underglow, so I have to disconnect this. And it is zip tied. So let's see. Can I just let it hang? No, I don't want to do that. All right, so I'll be back. I need to undo the zip tie. All right, now that I got that cover off, I'm going to take off this, I guess, crash bar and go from there. This is a 12mm socket, by the way, if you wanted to know. So I'm just loosening these up. and then get some help from my drill. I'm going to leave that last screw partially there because there's one more socket I need to take off. Oops, that didn't sound good. There we go. I guess that's good enough. Let's see. So I guess there's some marble in and out, some kind of play you have. So when you go to do the final adjustments, I would say, if at all possible, keep the bar as far this way. That will keep this as low as possible and away from the actual, I guess, the valve covers. There is a gap there. I haven't tightened everything back down. I don't know if you can see the gap that's down in there, but it looks like maybe a little more than 1/4 of an inch. Plus there's recesses in the top of this piece where to help avoid the screws. Alright, so I'm going to tighten this back up and probably go inside and warm up for a bit. Now one of these screws does not stay. This goes on like this, and this will replace it. So this screw is no longer used. This one is. I will get a little bit of thread lock to go put on there. So I will pause it right now. Okay, now to put on this under piece. Where'd I put the screws? Got the 3 screws here. I'll start with the top. So it appears that the Kuryakyn kit uses US size hex keys. I tried using on one of the actual bolts. I guess I want to say a 7mm, and that didn't work. But it turned out a 1/4 inch seems to work just fine. So I'm using all US hex keys on this. This, of course, isn't a 1/4 inch, but you get the idea. Now these screws already came with the Loctite pre-applied. I don't want you to think that I went and got Loctite and put on these. This is how they came. Making sure that this is reset in the groove, and it is. All right, loosen it up just a little bit, because it looks like I may have an issue getting this bolt in. So putting a little thread lock on there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me make sure I have a socket that fits this. Of course I don't. This is a shout out to everybody that has a neat toolkit where all your sockets are lined up and in order. Mine is just all over the place. Let's see, maybe that's it. Trying to get comfortable. So I just want to go easy at first to make sure that it's, it's threaded correctly. I don't want to have any cross thread issues, but since I see it's not fighting me. Back to my 12 millimeter. So for the Kuryakyn screw, it was a 1/2 inch, and for the OEM bolt I'm putting back, it is 12 millimeter. Yep, let me put some thread on there. I don't know if you can see this. Thread lock. Dead silence. Yeah, I know. Just concentrating. Okay. So what I did was I just tried to put a little downward force to try to make sure that there was no issue with this piece here actually touching this piece. It's like a rail. I don't even want to speculate as to what's going through this tube, whether it's just an oxygen thing or what, but it is very close to that. So I can see what the person was saying that reviewed this, that it is very close to hitting those two screws. Let's see if I give you guys a better look. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm kind of worried about that if the bike did go down, it would wind up rubbing against those. I don't know whether it's the metal is built thin enough there that it would pop through. I don't know. I guess if you wanted to, you could back drill a hole, and that would give it a lot more play. I don't think I'm going to do that. But as it's sitting right now, it's not touching them. And it will flex up maybe 1/4 of an inch before it hits. So just for a regular fall over, I don't think there'd be a problem. But if you're doing like, I don't know, 50 down the road and you wipe out, it's definitely going to push this bar up into it. But it's not to say that that wouldn't happen anyway if something happened to you going that fast. Yeah. All right, on to the next thing. So I'm just going to tighten this up, turn the video off. I'm going to tighten this screw, tighten these up, and then go on to covering this and finishing it off. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so cover time. So we got to take this black piece off, remove the 2 pins. A little tab, piece comes out. Put the pins back in case you want to use it later. Okay, set this aside. Let's see. Route the wire back through. Tighten up the screw. Oops. So if you were wondering, I kind of keep my drill on the lowest torque setting so that I don't wind up messing up anything. And I finish it off by hand. All right. trying to get the tab in here first. No, it's just not working. Okay, I'll put the top grommet in. Let's see, maybe that'll give me enough play to get. No. Not exactly sure why, but this front tab is not securing. So let me work on that a little bit. All right, so you can see that with everything lining up fairly decently, I mean, I didn't screw anything down, but you can see it looks like it's lining up well, but this bolt is not lining up with the hole. And if I do line it up and screw it in, then what happens is this is too far back, and then you'll see gaps in the front, like the other person was talking about that did the install on YouTube. So I'm gonna try to bend that piece a little bit forward so that it meets and keeps this in position. All right, wish me luck. So doing this install, I'll try to put some light on the subject so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so if you look down in there, you can see the two nuts resting on the back of the, or close to the back of the black piece. There is a small gap there, but not a very big one, and that is part of the engine, I guess, valve cover. The problem I was having is when I used or followed the instructions, I don't know if you can see the little circular divot there on top. You want to have those two screws kind of close to the middle as far as going left to right of those of that circle, of those circles. And what was happening is when I was screwing in the actual bar, this bar, and once I was actually connecting it with the bolts, what was happening was this device was moving backwards. I guess as it screwed down tight, it would move backwards, and then once I put the cover on, there was a very big gap on the side of it. So what I did was I went and got a different bolt. I don't know if you can see it. So it's that nice shiny one. Let me see, right here. So I got the different bolt. 75 millimeters long instead of 70. And then what I did was, I think you can see the actual washers. So I use washers to fill the gap between the mounting point and the piece provided by Kuryakyn. And that pretty much let me keep the piece as forward as possible so that the cover can go on okay. So now I'm going to try to mount the cover and finish this side up. I'm not going to actually mount the peg. I didn't buy the pegs yet. I just bought the assembly without the pegs, but I do have the arm, so I can put that on and show you. All right. All right. I'll put the cover on. And another thing, while you're installing this, another good way to gauge that it's not installed correctly or too far forward is if it's way too hard to get this front hook piece in. If you really have to fight to get that in, then yeah, there's a problem. route this wire. And I think that's it. This piece goes on the top here. And there's 2 screws that hold it. And you can see there's still like a slight gap right here where it's still not totally clear. And I'm not sure why that is. So here's the end results. You can see there's a small gap between the black cover piece and the silver piece. In finishing it up, in order to make everything work, I had to take the U-shaped bracket off. I heated it with a torch, and then I bent it slightly by actually holding it in a vise and banging on it a bit to get it closer to the hole. In doing that, I was able to use the factory screw that came from Kuryakyn, and I only needed like 2 or 3 washers to take up that gap. And with that, I was able to get it to fit flush front to back and only have the small gap at the bottom. Also, I did grind out small portions on the top just to give extra clearance from those 2 screws on the I think it's like a air hose close to the valve cover. Um, Also, you can see from the pictures, it looks pretty good. I used the chrome pedals with the black actual mount kit, and I think that came out pretty well. The right side, I had very little issue at all. I did it the same way though. I actually installed everything except for that final bolt. Um, I lined it up to make sure that the gaps are right so that the cover piece would fit evenly. And then what I did was I looked to see how much space was there, and I think there I might have used like maybe a washer or 2 just to take up that gap. But that I had very little, if any, issue at all. I guess it was from all the practice on the right side, but the left side was a lot easier. All in all, I think it was worth the money. I think for the price, they're a little less expensive than comparative highway pegs on the market. I think they look great. I guess time will tell how they hold up. But all in all, I think it was worth it. And I guess for each individual person, it's up to you whether you want to try to bend the piece or just add the washers, or if you don't like it, I guess just send it back. But for me, I think it worked pretty well. Um, I also noted that one peg is slightly further back than the other, left to right, and I think that has to do with the engine setup and pistons. Although it's a 6-cylinder, the 3 on the left is slightly offset from the 3 on the right, and I think that carried over to the peg placement. So you may notice that, and I think it's the left peg is slightly more rearward than the right peg. But that's it, and thank you for watching.